Welcome to Nostalgia Pilots, a Mobile Fighter G Gundam podcast where mysteries are attracting even more mysteries. I'm Hugh.
I'm Jurd.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Spence.
And we're here to talk about G Gundam Episode 14, Shocking! Shining Finger Defeated.
I think you said that in the exact appropriate tone.
There is so much shocking revelation this episode.
And by shocking, we mean we could totally tell this was coming.
Like, I'm still upset, because I mentioned it last episode, that we didn't see the fall of these guys. Like, I think the last time we saw them was when Chibity showed up, surfed in, and helped Domon get that one-on-one fight. And that was it. Like, Argo Golski, I think the last time we saw him was the Lumberjack.
Yeah,
Right.
And the last time we saw Saisashi, he was cuddled up in Domon's cloak, fighting.
Well, I have some serious thoughts about how these poor fellows have been treated. All the cluster of, I don't know. Do the bad guys have a team name?
Devil Gundam.
I think they called them the Big Five last
Yeah,
episode.
they call them the Big Five.
That is the laziest name. But anyway, okay. So the Big Five. I feel for them, and I'm hoping that they don't maintain their evil status throughout the series. But I don't really want to get too far into that thought line until we get to the GoBots at the end. I did, however, notice a tension throughout this episode between the dub and the sub. For example, in our intro piece from our announcer fella, he refers to Shinjuku City as the location where these four mysterious, I can't remember what he calls them, comets or whatever, are coming, which is so much like the Gundam Wing opening that I was like, oh, come on, let's do this. But
I was right there with you. I was like, oh, is Hero showing up?
Yeah. So, but no, unfortunately, what we get is the GoBots. But anyway, this is where things started getting weird for me, because in the sub, it just says Shinjuku. Whenever they refer to the city, it's just Shinjuku. But the dub plays up that it's beautiful Shinjuku City, which is weird because it's almost like the guy writing the script didn't watch the last episode in which they talked about how Shinjuku had been turned into a hellhole.
I mean, I think that's just because the original Japanese, since it's going to a Japanese audience, they would sort of be like, oh, this is Shinjuku, which is a fancy district of Tokyo, and I understand exactly where that is, and I've seen that building, and I've been in that ruined subway station.
Right,
that's the subway station I take to go to cram school. Like, and that's just a space that the dub can be like, okay, we can make up a few syllables here of dialogue. So
yeah, and provide a little context.
Shinjuku, and no, because the international audience is not going to particularly care where in Japan this is taking place, because they have no personal connection to this town.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So the next thing
the
that
fact that we're in, their headquarters is basically Tokyo City Hall.
Okay, yes, and let's talk about that headquarters, because that Tokyo City Hall headquarters is manned by a guy that I'm just going to call No Sleeves and Australia Hat. Those are our two options. We've got No Sleeves and Australia Hat.
I do like that we got these two background characters for 10 seconds, and I'm like, oh, you're the new Oz guys maintaining the supply shipments, huh? Aren't you?
That's exactly. I was like, let's follow these guys. This is the story. But no,
they're very colorful characters for 10 seconds of screen time. Like they stand out. But
didn't we have this with 8th MS Team too? We had a lot of these background characters that were on screen for a tiny bit of time, but we were just like, what happened to them?
Yeah, I just need to understand how Crocodile Dundee and one of the Double Dragon Brothers got together to fight, I don't know, the Devil Gundam robots or whatever.
Well, it's Tokyo. They were both in town for various reasons, and then giant robots killed everything, and now they're just like hanging out in this monitor room, and it's sort of like an odd couple comedy.
Again, the show I'd like to be watching. Although, that said, I was very pleased with how much Rain we got in this episode, and Rain being really useful. Like, if we're honest, in this episode, Rain is probably doing a lot more useful plot pushing than Domon is.
Yeah, I speaking of Rain, how long was Master Asia here? Because she finds, I don't know, but like she finds like the biggest hidden basement that's not very hidden ever. If this place was like a ramshackle, like we're gonna set this up, you know, on a whim because we're trying to defend against the Dark Army. How long did he have to set this thing up? Because there's just rows upon rows upon rows of these cryogenic tubes.
I love the trope, though, of, yeah, you're just going to go down this subway tunnel, and if you go through that utility door, secret base.
And they've got this hypnotic light that happens. So basically,
there is.
Somehow Master Asia is prescient enough to realize that Rain is watching him on security footage. And
he's trying to, I think he's specifically trying to lure her out.
Yeah. So
I just have to imagine that he's just been like walking in and out of subway tunnels all day, hoping she'll spot him.
Waiting for her. Rain, I'm waiting for you. I am the undefeated of the East. Anyway, so he like guides her down there, and Rain, being quasi-smart, makes sure she has a full clip in her pistol.
Yes.
Oh, I needed to underline that line, because it's like, she says, I'm not as strong as Master Domon, but I can cap a motherfucker. Like, she pulls out the pistol. Like,
I do like that she just treats Master Asia's like name as if it's a regular name. Like it's not a title. His name is just Master Asia.
Well, I mean, there are people in this country whose name is Prince. Like, that's their little first name.
I love the fact that, like, can we just talk about how competent Rain is? Like, yes, she's going off by herself, but she was exploring anyway and you know, kind of had a hunch. And she knows she can't fight Master Asia with Kung Fu because he's a master of martial arts. So she's like, I got the ultimate equalizer, this gun.
But also she's not as trusting of Master Asia as Domon is. And the fact that she's not following him with that blind loyalty that Domon is also speaks to that competency.
Before we get to some of her best moments, though, we have to go to the other side of the episode, which is Master Asia and Domon eating breakfast.
Yes. Eating their soup and their entire loaves of bread.
And having the weirdest conversation I have ever heard in an episode. So clearly, we were talking about this a little before the episode. There's some sort of insult, because it's like, oh, where's Rain? Isn't she supposed to be here? Asks Master Asia. And then Domon's like, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with her low blood pressure. And I'm like, what?
Well, he says that she's still asleep. And I think the implication is that he thinks Rain is lazy, even though Rain is literally doing everything for him all the time.
And also the hero of this episode.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, she gets an assist later from the GoBots, but for the most part, she solidly is the hero of this episode.
Yeah.
As usual, Rain is doing all the heavy lifting. Although I do like in this scene, like, Master Asia, like, punches Domon on the shoulder, and Domon just becomes, like, chibi for a second. And it is just lovely animation.
Now, I will say I do feel for Domon later in this episode.
Yeah. I will say, as heavy-handed as the show can be sometimes, the relationship that they set up between Master Asia before the heel turn really did make me feel for Domon. But what ends up happening, of course, pink eye attack. And here come the pink eye Zakus.
Although
Right.
I like this segment because Master Asia helps him fight these Zakus, and somehow, through the power of Kung Fu, turns a laser scarf into a laser bow staff and starts waylaying a motherfucker with this laser staff. And I'm like, whatever Kung Fu this is, I need to learn it. Because this, you can have whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Like, oh, I need a sword. Bam, bam, Kung Fu sword. Okay, I need that sword to now become a staff. Bam, bam, sword, staff. Like, it'll give you whatever you need through the power of Kung Fu, and it's amazing.
So
I mean, it's also a projection of the robot, so we're not sure what sort of field it's producing. Like, it's vaguely laserish, but it's obviously more solid than that. So it could just be like a force field thing that he can manipulate how he wants. But also, it's like entirely 70s movie kung fu.
So one thing that I did notice, and I want to go back and watch a couple of previous fights to see if this is accurate, but when George and when Master Asia, they draw their weapons inside their cockpit, they have like a laser weapon in their hands. Domon does not.
Sometimes he does.
And so I was kind of just like, but he drew his sword, but he doesn't have it in the cockpit. Why is that there that disparity? Maybe it was just a illustration error or something. But also, Jason, what's your favorite part about George?
Oh, absolutely. Rose bits.
Yeah, that's all I could hear when he said rose bits was Jason.
It's because in the dub, the actor who says it in such a monotone way. Like, he's trying to emote, but it's not working. So it's the most dull attack. Like, because again, this is a shonen show, so you have to call out your attacks. And if you grew up watching Dragon Ball Z and things like that, like when he's just like, rose bits, you're like, is that it? Like, Domon is screaming. Like Domon is raising the roof with the burning finger, and George is just like, rose bits. Like, it is so funny. But you're right. There is a great moment of rose bits in this episode. But also, but with that, I think it is an animation gaffe with the whole not having the sword, because we saw it with the sniper guy. He had that laser beam rifle thing in the cockpit.
Oh yeah.
And we also saw like Master Asia have it, and I want to say we saw it with a couple other people, like maybe the lumberjack? No. I think it was the Mexican dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think while Rain was driving briefly, she pulled out the energy sword and had it in her hand. That may have even been last episode. I did find the energy rapier that George used pretty cool. We did kind of skip ahead. Master Asia essentially says to defeat this army, we have to take out the general. And then, of course, big reveal, it turns out to be George.
And Domon is standing on a roof in that scene, so whatever that building's reinforced with, good job.
I was thinking the same thing. Yes, absolutely. But I also had a moment where I realized these guys are really suffering from the Wile E. Coyote problem. Like, maybe perfect a weapon, maybe like stick around and try a technique more than once. Maybe if you manage to build like an energy claw thing, you don't have to just try it once, and if it doesn't work, like maybe equip all the robots with it. Maybe give them all laser swords. Like, this is a very strange manufacturing process. This is like Elon Musk is out there building these robots.
I think that's just because all of the like boss robots in this, they're meant for the Gundam fight. So they're one-off constructions with very flamboyant weapons.
I
don't know if they have like a certain pool of what you can do or what you can have.
I will totally buy that. That's a great excuse for this series specifically. It doesn't really explain why Wu Fei is driving the dragon hand. Like, anyway.
Listen.
Okay.
I need a Gundam Tesla right now. Like, if someone wants to draw that, please. I want a Gundam Tesla. Also, superimpose Elon Musk's face over any GIF of Domon doing the shining finger.
I think that lately Elon Musk has proved that he's way more of a Char than anything else.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Char's too cool, though. I think Char's too cool for him.
Okay, he wants to be Char.
Yes, he absolutely wants to be Char. Hell, he wants to be Trace, but it's fine.
Like, if Elon Musk went on TV tomorrow and said that he is like dropping an asteroid on Earth for Earth's own good, I'd be like, that checks out.
And he does that press conference from a rose-petaled scented bath.
Well, obviously, like, Grimes is just off camera handing him rose-scented oil.
What was the name of the brother from 8th MS team? Because actually, I could totally see Elon Musk murdering his entire development team and being like, well...
Oh, I forgot about that.
Genius.
So, okay, while we're talking comparisons here, I did want to point out, okay, so of course Jurd showing up means the big five show up, and I just noticed really how much Maxter looks like Optimus Prime. Like, he has a real Optimus Prime vibe. I'm not saying it's a direct ripoff. I'm not even 100% sure it's inspired by it, but the face part, the head, like, it just really struck me this time around.
The colors. It's either Optimus Prime or Ultra Magnus, because technically Ultra Magnus was Optimus's brother. God, I'm such a nerd that I know that. But anyway, but I mean, the color scheme is correct. That red, white, and blue, predominant red and blue type stuff thing. The big shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
It's very Optimus Prime.
And I mean, if you're going to associate America, anyway, just saying.
Yeah.
So that they get into a tussle. The Big Five and Domon get into a tussle. And meanwhile, we cut back to Rain, who's basically rescuing everybody.
Yes, because Master Asia has the cryo chamber from the Nostromo underneath Tokyo.
And he's hypnotized and encased in cryopods. The green-haired commandant, the Shaolin monk, only one, not both, but one.
Not both. But he also took the time to put him in a prayer pose.
Mm-hmm.
Frozen.
And several of Chibity's bunnies.
Yeah, and also George's butler was there. So everyone's support crew.
Yes, everyone's support crew was there.
Has been put in these pods.
And including the zombie skeleton DG cell thing that was supposed to have been burned up. It was still around.
No, I think from what Rain says in the sub, these chambers turn you into those skeletons over time.
Yeah, I think the implication is that in the end you basically get eaten up by the cells and you're just a zombie piloting a robot. Yeah, and that's why there's that whole scene where she's like, even though they've been in there for however long, she basically says, oh, the DG cells didn't have time to get to you or whatever, which seems a little plot convenient, but okay.
So now we have an answer to who is piloting the devil or the Evil Dead squad of zombies.
Dead army, yeah.
It's
so basically they're just people
zombies from that are no longer alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These nanobot covered skeletons.
Which makes me want to see how they got here even more. Because the evil Gundam that looks like the Epion had to have challenged each one of these guys to a Gundam fight, defeated them, and then Master Asia would have had to show up and been like, it's okay, guys, everyone loses from time to time. Oh, the undefeated are like, we're now hypnotized. Like,
yeah, the underbelly of this show, though, is not a kid's show. It is a dark, dark story that would not be able to be sold by Walmart as a toy. Like, if we're going to follow those guys all losing their fights and then everyone getting turned into zombies and, like, even going further back into how, like, there's a whole city, essentially, that's been turned into these zombies, because go over how many of those Zaku's at this point, the pink-eyed Zaku's they've destroyed. Like, we're talking thousands of people who have been transformed at this point. Like, it's a zombie army.
And also,
yeah, I mean, the series does not want you to, like, question how the state of affairs came to be, because then it will probably make not a lot of sense.
Well, also they don't want to give anybody any ideas.
Yes.
And
so
I'm very surprised that this made the cut in the dubbed version of this show, because of how often they cut guns out of these kids shows. But Rain blows away tons of these zombie skeletons, and it's just outright. She whips out this gun, no hesitation, no stay back, just blowing them away. And I'm like, how did this make it past the censors? Like, this was
not in Japan.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely not in Japan. They don't care. But in America, like, they cut guns out of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like,
Yeah, the justification is probably they were robo-skeletons, but yeah, they don't
Yeah,
like usual
They're close enough
gunplay.
to robots that it's fine.
But yes, Rain is the hero of the series. Like, she's the hero of this episode. She saves everyone. She's laying waste to skeletal gunmen with her gun. Like, she's just like, can we get the side story of how Rain was trained to do all these things? Like, she learned kind of how to fight from her college boyfriend. But where did she get like the firearms training and all this other stuff? And we know she gets the scientific stuff from her dad. She's basically 007.
Well, I think that since her dad designed the Shining Gundam, maybe she was a pilot candidate.
Ooh, that I'd like to watch that. I'd watch that.
So one question that I have is, did I predict that Master Asia was the demon or whatever?
Yeah, I think
Gundam?
last episode.
I think so, yeah.
Because I was like, you don't see them in the same place at the same time, but he mysteriously turned into this other thing, and so yeah, called it.
And then Master Asia starts doing that weird rainbow electricity hypnosis thing with his like claw arms, because I guess his robot has that too.
He has Dark Finger.
Yes, and he's using that to convince Domon to join.
Well, we
Team
also get
Evil.
also get the revelation that the glowing finger or whatever is not going to be enough to overcome the dark finger. Like, it's basically not against it. And Domon gets under the control of the hypnotic dark finger, which is just, okay, it sounds like something you should go to your doctor. If you've got a bad case of dark finger, go to your doctor.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's probably a circulation issue. Anyway. But then we do get an interesting character note in that Rain comes out with the hostages or the rescued people, and Master Asia has a little flare of temper, which is interesting because normally he doesn't, and he takes a few pot shots at them with like his head cannon or whatever, and that's when Domon finally gives up on this, like, no, Master Asia, this can't be you or whatever, and starts trying to kind of fight back.
So once again, Rain saves the day.
Also, how can Rain hear inside the cockpit? Is she just like, well, I need to know what's going on in there because Domon can't be trusted.
She probably has a
sliced herself in.
She probably has a walkie-talkie that when she's within, I don't know, 900 feet of the Zaku, she can hear what's going on.
I just think she's got it low jacked from top to bottom. Like, she understands that Domon cannot be trusted. Like, she knows Domon.
Yeah, at this point, that dick has taken off in that thing to other countries while she's had to like follow on a economy flight or whatever enough times that she's got the whole thing rigged. She's probably got a kill switch somewhere to just turn it off. Like,
yeah, if he goes full hero Yui, he's like, I'm gonna self-destruct. She's like, oh no, you're not. Like,
not until you write me a letter apologizing and then give me a gun with the opportunity to shoot you. Anyway.
Yeah.
They're
or,
not gonna kill you.
A letter of reference for my next job. Either one.
Now, where's that application to be one of Chibity's bunnies?
So that's when the next big reveal of the episode happens, and I'm going to just hold off on my thoughts until we hear what everyone else has to say about the Shuffle Alliance.
Oh, the Shuffle Alliance.
So those 4 mysterious objects coming in from space, they land very close to the battlefield and announce themselves as the Black Joker, the
Queen it's Black Joker, Queen of Spades,
Jack of Diamonds, and
Club Ace.
And I have one question, and it hit me as I was rewatching the episode. Where in the flying fuck is the actual King of Hearts Shuffle Alliance Gundam?
Well, I had that question too. Why does this robot not look anything? And I'll tell you why. Because whoever designed these other robots... No, wait, hold on. I'm not going to go down that road yet.
Like, it's got to be, like, really embarrassing, and Master Asia has it, like, stashed someplace.
Under a tarp? Like, it's just in his backyard under a tarp, like he's Troa coming back from the circus?
Exactly.
Like, I don't need this anymore. It's fine. No one needs to ever see this again.
Sally Poe will hide it for me.
he sold it to some teenage kid, and the kid's using it to run between high school and the smoke store. Like, my God, these Shuffle Alliance
sad that we
robots
did
are just
not get
GoBots.
The King of Hearts playing card themed giant robot, because I bet it had a big sword and a mustache.
And Domon was like, I can't grow a mustache. Take it off. I'm getting a different one. I'm getting a different Zaku.
Listeners, build us fan art of this, please.
Yes, we need to see what the King of Hearts Gundam looks like. Because as ridiculous as the other Shuffle Alliance Gundams look like, it has to be ridiculous. Like, it can't be cool. Like,
I don't understand what happened with the design here. We have a show in which literally every dang episode is a different Gundam with some cool, if maybe a little bit racially stereotypical technique, like characteristics. So there is something interesting about every single one of the previous mobile suits. But these guys just, like, oh my God, somebody popped a quarter into a gumball machine and was like, let's flip these bad boys.
Well, because you have to have... This is a two-edged thing, because you have the design of the robots, and you also have the design of the Shuffle Alliance themselves, which is very diverse. And one guy is, like, totally in, like, Proto-Oz Neapolitan War...
Yeah.
Jacket and breeches.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody dropped it was like the day before they had to record this episode, and they were like, hey, did you design those robots? No, I thought you were going to get down to that. Oh, crap.
Let me go through my kids' toys and, like, mash some stuff up.
Exactly.
Okay, I did find a design for the King of Heart robot, and it is amazing. It has a transformation mode.
Is it the one off of eBay?
Turns into a big heart.
It turns into a big heart? Are you serious?
That's amazing. So, okay, so here I'm gonna put a link here in the chat also, because
from this wiki, I just need to point out this line. Is equipped with standard. I want to note the use of the word standard here. Standard weaponry like the heart cloth. What is a heart cloth? How is that standard to anything?
Well, it was used by Master Asia, so...
It can execute a powerful move called the Heartful Finger.
Maybe it heals?
Okay, so it's basically like Shining Gundam, but sillier looking.
I have thrown around a few Heartful Fingers in my time, and none of them healed anybody. But
well, were they heartful in a good way? Or were they just flipping the bird?
They were mostly just flipping the bird.
Yeah.
I'm very upset. I'm scouring the internet as we speak, and I cannot find a single model kit for any of the Shuffle Alliance, and I find that to be a terrible disappointment.
I call that justice.
Oh, this hurts my heart. Why would not every model kit is amazing, but you cannot create these things and not have a way for us to put them together.
The marketing team probably did some research and said, nah, these aren't going to sell.
Yeah, okay. The thing is, I am going to say that given the design, I'm surprised that they did not have some sort of toy in mind. Maybe not a kit to assemble, but at least something, because these look so much like something. Well, I mean, they look like GoBots. They look like something. The design looks like it was reflecting a physical formation. Otherwise, why would they look so silly?
Yeah, I think the idea is that they all sort of turn into, like, the symbol. So, like, a heart emblem or a like the diamond one comes together, or like the spade does something like that. Like, they all sort of look like their playing card suit.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say, as silly as I find them, I am kind of stunned that even in the modding community, like the people doing custom work, that no one's trying to take this on. But I am also, okay, so here's my confession as the noob, and maybe this will be running at the episode. Maybe Spence wants to ring in on this as well. I'm very up in the air about how long both the Shuffle Alliance are going to stick around and how long the Big Five are going to remain evil, because it seems like we've established the crap out of the Big Five, although it does, as to Banks's point, seem really weird that we didn't see the transformation to evil. Like, that seems, why didn't we see, every episode, them getting lost to the dark side and Domon having that, like, battle to try to save them or something, or, like, just being there too late or whatever it is. That seems like a really lost opportunity, especially given the structure of the show. But then to just inject the Shuffle Alliance without really any introduction to any of them, the pilots seem interesting, but they seem also very sort of Gundam stereotypical, I guess, to some extent. So I don't know how in-depth we're going to get on them. They don't seem to have the conflicted emotions of a, Coin or somebody. But anyway, so I'm just up in the air. I don't know that they're going to, well, maybe they'll stick around but be more background characters, and I feel like the Big Five have to flip pretty soon. Maybe not too soon, but at some point.
Yeah, I feel like the Shuffle Alliance is a bit more extreme, very much more like very much like the crew in Wing Zero, where, you know, they have an absolute view of right and wrong or whatever their code is, and they're going to stick to it. It seems like there is no room for leniency, like, especially as they're yelling at Domon to quit his whining about his old master. His master's gone.
Yeah, and that right there is where I've probably felt the worst for Domon, because throughout all this, Domon lost his brother who became evil. His mother died in his brother's fall, and his father took the blame and is now imprisoned. And so Master Asia was his only father figure. It was the one, like, last kind of shining hope that he had. And now that's been taken away from him in the most betraying of ways. And then any potential, rivals and friends he could have made through the Gundam tournament, they're evil now. Like, all he's got is Rain. Like, that's all he's got. And I felt so bad for him, because the Shuffle Alliance, they don't seem to give a damn about what he's going through. Because, like, Master Asia says, I severed ties with you. You're no longer my pupil. And he's, like, stopping them from fighting Master Asia. And they're like, bro, he just said you're not a student anymore. He cut ties with you. Get over it. I'm like, dog, this isn't just a fresh wound. He's still being hurt.
Well, I understand that, but at the same time, these four guys came down from space because their former boss blew up a city and turned all of its residents into zombies, and he's, like, blubbering about how his master doesn't love him anymore. I kind of like sympathize with that Joker there. Like, I'm like, yeah, you need to get your ass in gear and, live up to the responsibility of the crest you took on. This is what your job is now.
Although, to be fair, he's supposed to be their leader, because Master Asia does say, I'm the former King of Hearts, your leader, the undefeated of the East. So technically, they're telling their boss to...
Well, I think they were...
Well,
I think Master Asia was their leader, and he retired, but that doesn't put Domon in charge. Like, clearly Black Joker's in charge. Like, he works for her now.
I also love the fact that that she's so dominant when it comes to, like, what she's saying, because she looks like, let's be honest, like, their Gundams look like jokes, but she looks like a bamf. Like, she looks like she would solidly kick him out of the back of an airplane and then shoot him on the way down.
Yay!
Yeah, I don't get the design decisions around the suits. Like, the actual characters, yeah, they do seem like badasses, but, like, her at least, but yeah. So I do want to note that I did manage to locate, and entirely accidentally, a Juster Gundam toy. But I only found it because I was curious. Did the Lumber Gundam happen to have a toy or a kit that I could purchase? I was just Googling out of interest. And that's when I found that as a second-class citizen, apparently Canadians get packaged in with the GoBots. and there's a Jester Gundam, Lumber
Okay.
Gundam 2-pack.
The Jester Gundam is different from Black Joker. It's complicated, but it is amazing in its own right when we get there. And I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
I think
All right.
Jester Gundam is like Neo Portugal's Gundam. Whose design is a coincidence.
I know we are so far away from the fact that this is a fighting tournament anime, but there is a second half to this series, and there is a tournament. There is actually.
I have no idea how we make that journey back, but all right.
Well, no spoilers, but next episode title is Goodbye Shuffle Alliance. So
Theory
So there's
confirmed.
And and also, guys, remember, Gundam is just a vehicle to sell model kits. So there has to be upgrades for all the Gundams. Like, so every Gundam has an upgrade because you got to get those new models.
Yeah, and that part I'm actually looking forward to. So actually, now that we've even gone so far as to mention the next episode, does that bring us to favorite moments?
I think so. And my favorite part was something that we skipped over in the beginning of the episode, where we open on Shinjuku, and Shinjuku is sort of thrumming. Like all the lights are going on and off. And
Oh,
we're
yeah.
hearing this like heartbeat sound, and then we go under. The camera goes underground, and we see this like beating mechanical heart in a nest of tubes, and then we just see like the burning eyes of the Devil Gundam for like a second. And we don't get a full reveal this episode. Like, it comes close to it a couple times, but mostly it's this like very heavy thematic presence throughout the episode, and I really enjoyed that. Like they were like still slow burning that reveal.
Yeah. A little bit of subtlety is nice. Actually, my favorite moment was also something that we didn't touch on, but when the big five all show up at once, there's a moment, and it was just, I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous, but also kind of funny, that Domon goes through each person and is like, hey, you know your one character note? What happened to that? And that he, with, shoot, I don't want to mispronounce his name, and I know that I'm going to do so. What is it? Thank you. So he's like, but what about the temple? What about your dream? And then he goes through everybody, and he gets to Chibity, and he's like, is this really what you want to be doing? Like, Chibity's got no goals, apparently.
I think he's just mad at Chibity because Chibity obviously has the best pit crew. He has, a 401k and benefits for his bunny girls. Like,
he could have at least been like, listen, man, do you want Rodimus Prime to take over?
Oh God! Oh, that's
Wow.
so. Oh wow! Oh, bravo! Oh man! Woo! Rodimus Prime, one of the worst things that ever happened to Transformers. Oh, even though Hot Rod wasn't my favorite Transformer because I love Lamborghinis. But anyway, my favorite part is just Rain. Like, throughout this entire episode, she's just been excellent. Like, it makes me wonder if this show would not be better if she was just the main character. Like, forget Domon. Like, even before the show started, let's say Domon died fighting the Devil Gundam, and she takes up the mantle of being the pilot of the Shining Gundam and goes through like these weird espionage bits, going from country to country, also fighting in the tournament to eventually avenge the loss of Domon, the imprisonment of her father, and Domon's family's destruction. Like,
I would even take it one further. Why not make her the masked character that they have to shoehorn into every single one of these series? So Domon dies in the first quarter of the show. He's set up as the hero. He dies. And then she adapts a mask that Domon, up until that point, has been wearing. And she just pretends to be him for the rest of the show. I'm all about this idea. She has to keep the deception going, so that adds some tension as she's going around. but she's also got to learn how to be a Gundam fighter, and that builds up because it's the Dragon Ball Z problem is that like these guys all have to be super powerful all the time, and there's no arc in like getting better at what you do unless you just encounter the Dark Finger that for whatever reason invalidates all your old weapons. So having her actually learn the ropes and there being some tension there, that'd be interesting as well.
I don't think I had a favorite part. I mean, this was kind of like a typical, yeah, Rain's awesome, and Domon is more vulnerable than he wants to let on. And I don't know, maybe it was just I was in a bad mood when I was watching it. Who knows?
No, and, I'm very surprised. Having gone from Gundam Wing to 8th MS Team to G Gundam, we have some capable female characters in Gundam Wing, but because Relina's like the main love interest and she's kind of terrible, it is a breath of fresh air to have seen our awesome redhead Gundam pilot in 8th MS Team, and now Rain, who's not even a Gundam pilot and is obviously capable, and the actual brains, and some of the brawn, like. Because again, she's whipping this gun around, no problem. So I just think it's a big breath of fresh air because they could easily have fallen into another Relina style character. And even the bunny girl characters for Chibi Crockett's team are all capable mechanics and very intelligent. Like, it's surprising that they haven't fallen here. Heck, even Argo Golsky, he's being led around by a female.
Yeah, I think the Gundam universe, and I mean, I'm saying this as having not watched any of the recent shows, so my viewpoint is all historical. But I think we're ready for like the all-female Gundam team. Like, let's do this.
So totally. So next week, join us for episode 15, Warrior's Crest, Goodbye Shuffle Alliance, and you can find all of our show notes, links, etc. at our website. That's nostalgiapilots.com. Follow my website at hughjodonnell.com. I'm on Twitter at Hatching Phoenix.
And you're on TikTok now.
Yes, I'm on TikTok at Everyday Drabbles.
And doing fantastic work, might I add. You can find all of my nonsense over at Skinner.fm.
And you can find everything I do over at nerdswithvoices.com. And get ready. Halloween is coming. Going to torture my co-host with more horror movies yet again.
I don't envy her. And you can find me at resonantmoon.com, and I am also on TikTok at spence.resonant.moon.
So until next time, he's not my brother, he's a monster!
Dude, he just said that he was his brother like 3 seconds ago.
I forgot about that line so bad.